Sloths have a reputation as the laziest animals on Earth. Slow, sluggish, seemingly incapable of urgency even when danger is nearby. That reputation is wrong, or at least incomplete. A sloth's slowness isn't laziness. It's one of the most precisely calibrated survival strategies in the entire animal kingdom, built around a problem most animals never have to solve, running almost entirely out of fuel. Sloths eat leaves, mostly from a small number of tree species, and leaves are a remarkably poor source of energy. They're low in calories, difficult to digest, and take an extraordinarily long time to break down, sometimes over a month for a single meal to fully pass through a sloth's digestive system. Compare that to a similarly sized mammal eating fruit or meat, and the gap in available energy is enormous. A sloth simply doesn't have the fuel budget to move quickly, and every unnecessary movement threatens a calorie deficit it may not be able to recover from. That fuel shortage shapes everything else about sloth biology. Sloths have one of the lowest metabolic rates of any mammal on the planet, roughly 40 to 45% slower than would be expected for an animal of their size. Their body temperature fluctuates more than almost any other mammal, sometimes dropping several degrees during cooler periods rather than burning energy to maintain a constant internal temperature the way most warm-blooded animals do. Even their muscle mass reflects this strategy. Sloths carry roughly half the muscle mass of a similarly sized mammal because muscle tissue is expensive to maintain, and sloths simply can't afford the metabolic cost of carrying more than they need. Here's where the story gets more interesting than simple energy conservation, though. Slowness itself turns out to be a defense mechanism, not just a side effect of low energy. Sloths' primary predators, harpy eagles among them, hunt largely by detecting movement. A fast-moving animal draws the eye immediately. A sloth moving at a fraction of a mile per hour can remain functionally invisible to a predator scanning the canopy for motion, even in plain sight. Researchers studying sloth predation have noted that successful attacks disproportionately happen during the rare moments sloths do move quickly, crossing open ground to reach a new tree rather than during the long stretches of near total stillness that make up most of their day. The sloth's fur adds another layer to this camouflage strategy. Algae grows directly on sloth hair, in grooves specifically shaped to host it, giving many sloths a faint greenish tint that helps them blend into the surrounding canopy. Some species of moth and beetle live exclusively in sloth fur, feeding on the algae and completing their own life cycles there. A small ecosystem living on an animal that barely moves. Sloths descend from the trees roughly once a week specifically to defecate, and even that behavior is thought by some researchers to help fertilize the algae growing in their fur, though the full explanation for that risky ground level trip is still debated. Even sloth swimming defies expectations. Despite moving at a fraction of a mile per hour on land, sloths are surprisingly capable swimmers, able to slow their heart rate to roughly a third of its normal resting rate and hold their breath for up to 40 minutes underwater, crossing rivers when a food source runs out in one location. The same low-energy biology that makes them slow on land turns into an efficient survival tool in water. So the next time you see a sloth moving at what looks like an almost comedic pace, remember that it isn't struggling and it isn't lazy. It's running a precisely tuned energy budget that has kept its species alive for millions of years, turning stillness itself into one of the most effective defenses in the rainforest canopy. What surprised you more, the digestion timeline or the swimming ability? Drop it in the comments and subscribe to NatureCrest for more deep dives into the animal kingdom's most extraordinary and most misunderstood creatures.